Welcome to Between the Stars, a very special episode. Today is October 1st, so we decided to give you a look at LEGO doing Halloween. And they do Halloween pretty well, I would say. So this is not going to be an all-encompassing list. This is like greatest hits. We're going to start a little bit with the history and then our personal favorites. If you've followed our channel, you know I love Halloween. I love this time of year. I am super excited to share this stuff with you. We have Chris with us. He's here to drop some history, and he knows the minifigures very, very well. And Randi is here with us too as a horror movie fan and general Halloween fan.
Yes.
So show us your shirt.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
I have my zombie. This one's called Happiness is Fleeting.
Yes.
That's what it was called on the website, so I love this one.
A helium balloon is not strong enough to pull off a zombie's arm, though.
I guess it depends on the rate of decay and how long.
No.
No?
No.
That's odd that he knows that.
Right?
How does he know that? Okay. Let's start at the beginning. LEGO's first ghost actually appeared in the Castle line.
Yeah.
1990?
There were a couple castle sets that it was in 1990. It was the glow-in-the-dark ghost. It had a 1x2 white brick as his legs with a plate to give it a little extra height and a black head, and he had a smiley face. And it was two sets that he came in, I believe. A small set and one of the big castles.
Oh, okay. You guys probably know, but the piece was a glow-in-the-dark piece, like you said, and it was a sheet that went over it, so it was like the classic ghost.
Yeah, and Bricklink calls it glow-in-the-dark opaque, whereas, am I pronouncing that right? Or is
Opaque,
that
Opaque.
I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. You were looking at me weird, so I was like, all right.
I was like, really?
I was like, this is a new color. It's okay.
Opaque, I
I'm
believe.
thinking Tupac, my bad.
He's glow-in-the-dark, too.
Yeah. And then they remade that piece later on in one set for some reason in a different glow-in-the-dark color. Maybe they were just testing it out, but it's considered glow-in-the-dark trans.
They've done glow-in-the-dark a couple of different ways, haven't they? There's several.
Yeah,
a handful
they have,
of glow-in-the-dark,
because there's
okay.
the just regular studs that are glow-in-the-dark and cones. This would have been a little later on.
Oh, okay.
It's the same ghost, but just released a couple years later. That's in the Wolfpack, small Wolfpack set.
So this is 93, 4, 5, something like that.
Exactly. Well, somewhere between 92 and 5.
And the ghost changed very little. He went from a happy face to a sad face, right?
In the newer Monster Fighters line, yeah.
Okay, that's when it changed.
So this ghost here has the 1x2 brick for his legs, but then I think after 95 he started having actual white legs.
How does the glow-in-the-dark work with those ghosts? Was it pretty good?
It's really good, yeah. We have our castle upstairs that I built a long time ago, like 10 years ago, that big castle. And we've got the skeleton army attacking it. We turned out the lights one night to go home, and it just, like, I walked in that room to make sure everything was locked up and everything, and I was like, whoa! It almost scared me. It was so bright, all the glowing skeletons and stuff.
I know the new glow-in-the-dark pieces that they just introduced for that Monkey Kid skeleton set, they've changed their glow-in-the-dark because it works really well, and it lasts hours. And normally that stuff, like after a few minutes,
Yeah.
it
And
stops.
so that's even better than the Monster Fighters line,
Yes.
glow-in-the-dark stuff?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
much better. They're new and there was some new elements and stuff that they've never had in glow-in-the-dark before. Next spooky thing was the skeleton, also introduced in Castle, correct? Do you know when that came out?
It should have been 95, and it was the same style sets as this Wolfpack one. And
Okay.
It was like the Royal Knights, I think it came in, which was kind of a hodgepodge between King Leo's Knights and like the Dragon Knights. It was like just a little castle tower set that it was called the Knight's Surprise or something like that, where a knight gets surprised by a skeleton in a tree trunk or a castle or something like that. And then they started putting him in the big castle sets too.
Obviously they were popular because then it became kind of a staple for the big castle sets to always have a skeleton or a ghost, right?
Yes, but the problem with them is their arms wiggled, which is cool because it's kind of like bones wiggling. You know, they're like dangling, and they're made to hold something, but they can't really hold any weapons upright because they just arms fall down. So later on, when Lego started making the fantasy era skeleton army, they had to hold their shields and their scythes that they were carrying. There's the more modern design, which is kind of like the battle droid from Star Wars arms.
They could actually hold swords and shields and stuff.
Like
Yeah. I guess the difference to me would be in the original sets, the floppy arm skeletons, as I call them, are represented dead people. Whereas the new ones represented resurrected people, and then they have to actually move and fight.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So,
and I believe they were coming out with them at the same time. You still got some of the floppy
Oh, you
arm
did?
ones. Yeah. So that might have been how Lego was representing them.
actually, the Monster Fighter, all the way up until Monster Fighter, they still had floppy arms. Let's break for a second, and I want to know, favorite horror movie or favorite monster? Do you have one?
Ooh.
While you guys think, I can go with mine. My sister introduced me to horror through Freddy Krueger. So I guess he's considered a ghost or poltergeist or something. Freddy Krueger nostalgically always has a special place in my heart. And of course the later movies got funny. I was still gory and stuff. Rated R, of course. Parents, don't show it to your kids. But it does get silly later on. And of course Wes Craven made it spookier later with New Nightmare. That's how I started with horror movies. The Goonies had some horror elements, and then Monster Squad from the 80s. If you guys remember that one, that was kind of an odd gem. How about you guys?
We love, in our house, Friday 13th. We're like Jason. We like the slasher movies. Again, not for small children. But but we like those. But like the fun ones too. We love Hocus Pocus in our house. It was the same thing. They were scarier at first, and then they got kind of silly.
Yes.
And they had a crossover with Freddy.
Yes.
And and then he was in outer space and all kinds of great stuff.
Speaking of like kid movies that were actually terribly frightening, do you remember Witches?
Yes. Oh, that was so scary.
That movie was, do you remember that? Do you know which one we're talking about?
Vaguely, I probably watched it, but
Yeah, it was a kid's movie, but based on a book, I believe, and it was horrifying. It was so scary. There's so many weird angles and strange imagery, and the makeup effects were amazing. The other classics, like, that I grew up with, 80s classics to me, anyway, from my childhood, is like American Werewolf in London, American stuff like that. Those 80s effects. You know, those movies were based more on the effects, because effects had taken a leap, I think, with animatronics and makeup and latex and stuff. And so a lot of those movies at the time featured that as a prominent feature. Whereas the old Universal Studios monsters were more about the story, the creepy elements, the mood. We see homages to all that stuff as we go through. How about you, sir?
I would say that my first really favorite scary movie was Scream.
Oh, okay.
It's 90s, it's later
classic.
on, but it was so much, it was funny.
Yes.
And I like comedies a lot more than serious horror movies. In fact, I didn't really go back and watch the 80s ones until my son was old enough to start. I watched The Shining for the first time last year, and I was this is so good. Where has this been all my life? I like Scream, and then I liked the comedy scary movies. They were just making fun of all the horror movies. It was just great. And then I like Halloweentown a lot. I didn't see that until my kids were watching it. And I was like, wow, this is a really good, well-done show. Halloweentown.
I don't know if I know that one. What's Halloweentown?
I think it's back in the 90s. And it was kind of like a Disney Channel style one where it's very kid-friendly, but at the same time, it's just so well done that kind of like Scream. Scream was really well done. Halloweentown, they've got really cool characters, monsters, and stuff like that.
There is a movie, but it's this little kid. Everything about the movie is Halloween. It happens on Halloween night. The little monster has a pumpkin for a head. And he looks like a little trick-or-treater, and basically it's an anthology. It goes through, and there's different stories, but they all happen in the same town, and the kid punishes people who don't respect Halloween.
Oh.
And it's really, really good. I think it came out in the early 2000s. It's a little campy, but it screams Halloween. It has Halloween all over it. And I noticed it was interesting. We all picked slasher movies. And I wonder if that's just a product of the time we grew up in. Scream is more of a satire of slasher movies while still being a slasher movie.
Remembering back, I mean, you're talking, 30 years ago? So now that I think about it for a minute, back in the 80s, my favorite Halloween movie had to have been E.T. because they go. Remember, they go trick or treating.
Trick-or-treating.
Yes.
And I think you see Yoda too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my.
A buddy of mine said, he's from Chicago, and he said up north there's kids everywhere when they trick or treat. In the south you don't see as much. It's kind of sparse. But he said it was like E.T. where he grew up. It was now you're from the north.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Way more than it is here.
I'm from Maryland, but I had friends from Pennsylvania. It seems to be a more beer culture, and they've all told me, I've heard it from multiple people, that the parents give each other beers when they come to the door, and the kids get candy.
They did that on the West Coast, too.
They do? Yeah.
There was a couple people, they might be from the north, in our neighborhood that did that last year. The houses that participated in Halloween last year.
I feel like it's more spread out down here, which is why you don't see as many kids. There's so many different neighborhoods they could go to. Like, we haven't been at our house for Halloween ever. I don't think we've ever been home on Halloween night. You know, and you have a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
They go someplace else for Halloween.
Yeah.
So.
And we have in Noonan, we have the historic downtown, little history of Noonan, and this goes into Southern being spooky. Like Anne Rice kind of started that trend of Southern stuff being, old Southern being spooky. We have downtown Noonan, I think it was a hospital, so Sherman saved Noonan and didn't burn it to the ground, so we have a lot of Civil War houses. Just a strip of them. And they do Halloween like crazy. It's called College Street. And the first year I lived here in Noonan, we went there. We didn't have kids. I just walked through because I loved Halloween like a freak. I'm not just walking. But it was shoulder to shoulder. It was like what you would see in E.T. or maybe what I imagine up north would be. Just on both sides of the street, the police had the street closed off so you didn't have to worry about cars, people, or there's lines to get to people's houses. Wow. It was nuts, and people went all out. Have you ever done College Street?
No, I haven't. We do all the haunted houses. We've got in Atlanta, we've got 2 of the top 10 haunted houses in the country, I believe.
Yes, and one of them's in Noonan.
Yeah, it used to be. So 13 Stories is still in Noonan, but it changed hands, and it's different now.
Oh, it's not as good.
No, it's not as good. That was like 3 years ago. It was one of the top 10, and that year, somebody even died of a heart attack.
Oh.
But that was one where you signed off so that they were allowed to touch you. They blindfolded you, sent you through places where people are touching you, they're kissing you, they're pinching you. I mean, it was cool. That's where somebody had a heart attack. And then the other one is the Netherworld, which in my opinion is better than any one ride at Disney World. It's a production, and it is really well done. A lot of animatronics and people scaring you.
That's way on the north side of Atlanta, right?
Stone Mountain.
Stone Mountain, okay.
Yeah. But then we have another one this year at the Renaissance Festival, the Georgia Renaissance Festival, which is just down the road from us. And 13 Stories is going to have a haunted house at that Renaissance Festival, and they're going to turn it into a haunted village.
Yeah.
Which sounds cool,
amazing.
So you're outdoors more. You might go from building to building a little bit, but it sounds like it's mostly outdoors, so you follow this path. That sounds awesome.
And that also reminds me is I got engaged at a haunted house October 14th.
Oh,
yeah. It was Friday, October 13th, Friday the 13th, and we were at our hayride in college, and I didn't want to propose to her on Friday the 13th, so I had to wait till midnight. So it was after midnight. It was on the 14th, technically.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It was Rich's Farms up in the Pittsburgh area. It's such a big haunted house. They had celebrities come in to do scares, like WWF wrestlers and stuff like that.
Looking at the Lego, back to the Lego, they've done plenty of haunted castles, but they've only done one haunted house, like full haunted house, right? And that's the Monster Fighters haunted house. I'll get a close-up of it later. This is from my personal collection. I love this. Based on the Norman Bates Psycho house, they did Insane Green, which was a newer color that year. It's dollhouse, it's fully enclosed, and it looks like a derelict house.
Boards.
Yes, the boarded up windows.
It's very Hitchcock.
The zombies' heads as the pillars here.
Yes.
It's just great.
Yes.
And you know that's not ours. That's not the store's because we can't keep it in stock.
Correct.
Somebody would have bought it already.
Yes.
That's one of those Holy Grail sets that if we have it at the store, somebody finds out about it through a haul video or something, and it's gone before it hits the floor.
Yes. Yeah. Another little anecdote. Monster Fighters is what got me out of my dark period and back into My wife and I, before kids, we were at Disney Springs in Orlando, and they had the Monster Fighter castle, that $80, $90 castle on sale. Because they were getting rid of it. It was a retired theme. I remember saying, I wish they had this when I was a kid, because this is my jam. It's Lego and it's spooky stuff.
Yeah.
And she said, you should get it. You don't collect anything. You don't have any hobbies, because I was out of everything. I wasn't doing anything. You should get it. I was like, no. And she convinced me. And I remember turning to her in line, and I said, you have no idea what you're starting with. I did.
Love it.
And she was like, haha, yeah, right. And here I am. I ended up buying all of the Monster Fighters. There was a couple of polybags that I didn't find because they were too expensive on eBay. It was before I knew about your story.
Zombie car.
There's more than one zombie car, and there was a cheaper version, and they were basically the same, and they both came with the zombie driver, which came with the regular sets anyway. The Holy Grail set, other than the haunted house, was actually the graveyard zombies.
Yeah.
Now, do you know the story behind this? I've heard things, but I don't know if it's correct. This comes with the highly coveted zombie bride and zombie groom. It also came with a big vehicle, which I have here. These are all my zombies. And I believe this is every non-licensed zombie they've ever made, plus a couple of licensed ones, if I'm correct on that. You can double check me. I've got Zombie Captain America and the zombie driver from Ghostbusters. But other than that, I believe this is every zombie except for the super exclusive.
The employee. Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, the Lego store employee, I think was 2010, and they only gave it out to the Lego managers, store managers, at the store managers conference. I think it was in Dallas, Texas. So because of that, it's super exclusive. They had to have made probably like 500, if that.
Wow.
And it's in the $3,000 to $4,000 ballpark. But the problem is, of course, there's fakes out there, and you really need the story to go along with where did this very expensive minifigure come from, because there's so many fakes out there. So that's one way to tell if it's real or not.
And like you said, you can't look for the Lego logo, because some people might find a great minifigure and
print on it, because those small batch custom figures were quite often done by Lego customizers in the United States. Just the guys who we go online and we buy custom figures from, they could have made those figures, so it could look like it's a fake, but it's real. That's what's so tricky about them.
And the story that goes along with it, you call that provenance?
Provenance,
right?
Yeah.
Provenance, okay.
That's a story. So, like, anytime we get a very expensive minifigure, I usually have a story to go along with it. And quite often, it'll come to us from somebody that is relatively famous because they're in the industry, and they go to one of the Comic Cons and they get these figures exclusively, and then they bring it to us and trade it to us. So we've got a number of people that are in that industry that people know, they're well-known people that give us those figures. So anytime I do get those and I sell it, I whisper them the provenance.
Yeah.
You know, we don't advertise it,
Yeah.
but I'll tell them where it came from. And
Yeah.
it's like, ooh, cool, that makes it so much better.
Yeah.
You know?
I would say that's my holy grail figure, but I'm not paying that much. If you ever get a fake, I'll buy the fake from you, but I'm not paying that much.
Well, you can go on eBay and buy a fake.
Okay. And it actually came male-female. I think it came with a different head and hair as well.
Okay.
So it had two exclusive, not only was the print exclusive, but it had two exclusive heads too. Whereas in the Monster Fighters, I think there were only 3 zombies. There was the zombie driver and then the bride and groom. The chef had the same face as the zombie driver. So this set, it has a neat little stained glass mausoleum on the back. What's interesting about this one is that it seems like this was an afterthought. It seems like it came out later. I had read this was a Target exclusive, and even then, not all Targets got it. It was hard to get. The only reason I'm inclined to believe that is because the gem that it came with, the gems, the collectible, the MacGuffin of this set, this crystal did not come in the big castle. It came with all the others. The big castle had all the others, but it did not have the zombie one. The zombie one only came in this. So if you don't know, they all had these moonstones. Lord Vampire was trying to collect them to make a permanent night so monsters could rule the earth. And if you bought the big castle, it had all of them. You didn't have to buy individual sets, and it was basically his machine to block out the sun. But it didn't include this one. So do you know the story behind that?
I don't, but
okay.
It does make sense. It's not like it wasn't attainable. We had a number of them come in
You
the
did,
store.
okay.
You know, not as much as the other sets, but we still got some in. But it was expensive immediately.
Yeah.
Like, people knew it was an exclusive. So it would make sense that it came out at Target. It's a little more exclusive than Walmart, but even Walmart exclusive sets skyrocket in
Really?
value. Yeah, you don't think of things being exclusive if Walmart has it. It's like, Walmart's got it. How
Well, and they're
exclusive
everywhere.
can it be?
Yeah.
But even Walmart exclusive stuff actually skyrockets in value. I've got a record album, a vinyl record that is going up in value because it was a Walmart exclusive. Like the Raptor Rampage from Jurassic World was a Walmart exclusive.
It was, okay.
And that has gone up in value more than the other sets.
So again, when I was getting back into Lego, these were on sale everywhere. They were how much when they came out?
Probably $15.
15?
But I was finding them for 10, so they might have been in the $10 to $15 ballpark.
We have a couple for 30. What was interesting about this, and tell me if this is the first time, they had the Witch CMF, and she was unchanged. A new way to get a CMF. Mm-hmm. Is that the first time they did that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel like there's been other times they've done that. Nothing off the top of my mind, but like maybe it was a calendar set that had a special figure or something like that.
Okay. These were pretty easily attainable if you were around at the time. They weren't hard to get from the Lego store and shop at home. But it came with the original zombie palette swapped. So his suit and tie were different colors. So it was a way to get the zombie. I remember I got 3 of them just because, you can't have just one zombie.
Yeah.
And it had the glow-in-the-dark ghost, which was unchanged. But the really exclusive guy in that set was the palette swap zombie. While we're on zombies, I want you to explain again, why do the book figures not go up in value as much? You'd think they would, but they tend not to. I'm talking about the skateboarder zombie, which is the skateboarder from an earlier CMF. So he died and got bit or something and turned into a zombie.
I don't know for sure, but my guess is that the books are made by DK Books or someone else besides Lego. They get the licensing to make those. So Lego is basically providing the figures for them to put inside the books. So they're probably producing a lot of those figures. You got to buy the book, but the books are everywhere.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So Lego's not necessarily coming out with a limited release or limited run. The book company is, and they're just putting a ton of them out there. So like a lot of times you'll be able to go to Ollie's or Big Lots and buy all those books for
the old ones.
Much cheaper than retail price.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that drives the price down. Okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, this zombie skateboard boy is pretty cool and pretty exclusive, but I guess if he's easy to get.
Also, this is interesting about the books, is people buy this $30 or $20 to $30 book just for that figure. And that makes that figure start out at a much higher price than normal. So then, usually there's only one way for him to go, which is down.
Got it. Oh.
So they'll start out higher and then go down. But there has been exceptions to that rule based on popularity. So like the white Boba Fett, the new white Boba Fett, has now gone up because all things Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then the Frodo that came with DVD.
The blue coat Bilbo?
Yeah, he's gone up in value, probably because it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And all things Lord of the Rings are going up.
Do you have a favorite?
I gotta go with the bride. She's fabulous. She is ready for her wedding day, and that groom has no idea what's in store for him. It's beyond eternity when you're a zombie.
Yes. Next, I guess, in history-wise, we had Studio line.
Yeah.
Studio was a weird line.
Yeah, it was almost like it was a way for them to bring some licensed themes together into the LEGO universe.
Without doing a true license,
Yeah,
almost?
because they did Spider-Man and Jurassic Park and Steven Spielberg. A couple of studios sets back here. Now this one is a real basic one. So the minifigure, it says director on his back, but he's supposed to be Steven Spielberg. And then he's got there's a cameraman and there's a grip minifigure, which is kind of cool. And then this one was a little pirate scene, polybag. Right
all those
there.
pirate movies Steven Spielberg made.
Yeah. That was kind of neat. So it was like a Lego set and then a Lego set in a Lego set, because then you've got the studio built around the Lego set. This was pretty high tech for its time. This one had the USB camera with it, which probably still plug into computers and work just fine. I guess the idea was that you make your own stop motion movies and stuff.
And this is Steven Spielberg, not Jurassic Park. It comes with the old dinosaur,
Yeah.
but there's no Jurassic Park anything on
Oh
this.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
So that was a way for them to get around that license, I guess.
Yeah.
But they did get Spider-Man.
Yeah, and they did get Jurassic Park.
They did. Okay.
Eventually, but maybe not in the studios line. Around that same time, they had Jurassic Park.
I love
Lego
the
was
brick
making
built
them.
foot. Like
Yeah.
it's just doing a close up. So what was weird about this is you role played a role play. Because
Yeah.
you're pretending to make a movie about an event, like a fantasy event like dinosaurs or monsters, and then they came out with the Universal Studios classic monsters. And we've seen an evolution with them through the CMFs, and then Monster Fighters, then Scooby Doo. Did you have a favorite studio line?
It would have to either be the monsters or Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they're both unique to studios. The other characters weren't. Like, here you've got your common pirate, your common skeleton, but with the Spider-Man, it's kind of a big deal.
That was one of the first licenses too, right? That was kind of early because they got Star Wars, Harry
2001,
Potter, and then
it was
Spider-Man.
it was like a couple years after Star Wars came out. The first Marvel figure, maybe?
Yes. Yeah. And first werewolf, first mummy, things like that.
Here's
And
the mummy. And he's got some cool colors and a cool look. He's very different from any other mummies that they made later on.
He looks like the classic mummy.
And mummies, like skeletons, they've appeared a lot because they were in the Adventures line, they're Pharaoh's Quest, then again Monster Fighters and Scooby Doo.
The CMF, too.
And even Ninjago had some mummies. And the CMF. So there's the original CMF, and there's so many, I don't know where they're all from. I know that's Pharaoh's Quest, I know that one.
The Monster Fighters one, Glue in the Dark, right?
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was the Monster Fighters one.
I know the horse did, and the Monster Fighters also reintroduced a lot of glow-in-the-dark elements.
Here's the Frankenstein from Studios.
There was also a Frankenstein's monster. It's very 90s looking, the print. Here we have the rest of the Frankensteins that appeared. The Monster Fighter one, and then the CMF. I guess his son, his rocking out son. And then the Lurch character from the Haunted House, which was just a gray version.
Speaking of Lurch, we never mentioned the Addams Family. I watched every episode of that as a kid.
You did?
Absolutely.
And that and the Monsters. So
Yes.
That would have to, I never considered it a Halloween movie, though, because I watched it year-round.
Yeah.
So
You watched even the old black and white one?
When I was a kid, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I would count that up there.
Oh, yeah.
The black and whites are the best. I think Psycho in black and white
Yes.
is so much better than in color.
Yes.
You know what we forgot is Nightmare Before Christmas.
I did
Jack
not grab those.
Skellington. Yeah, I guess that would be considered Halloween as well.
Halloween/Christmas.
Sally and Jack Skellington.
I always think of it as Christmas, even though I know it's huge. Halloween, to me, it's a Christmas movie. Like Edward Scissorhands, to me, is a Christmas movie.
Yes. Yeah. Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Gremlins is totally a Christmas movie. Yes.
It takes place at Christmas, right? It's good holiday film.
Yes.
Oh, here's the original Studios vampire coffin, which is the old brown, and it's got the embossed vampire on it, which just makes it look,
cool.
to me,
Yes.
I really like
it.
all of these coffins and sarcophaguses.
Yes.
I think they're all really, really neat. The Adventures line had some really cool painted ones. Pharaoh's Quest had the gold ones.
Which one is the most expensive?
I don't know, but my guess would be the Studios one here and the painted one from Adventures.
Okay.
Some others are just a lot more common. Monster Fighter's one is everything Monster Fighters is pretty popular, so it's relatively expensive.
Really? Okay.
The Pharaoh's Quest one is probably one of the cheaper ones.
And that's, to me, that's one of the best ones. The gold with the mummy pharaoh on the front.
That line just wasn't as popular.
I wish they would bring Adventures back.
And why not? They own it. They own it.
Yeah. You just update everything, because it can be anything. It can be raiding a tomb. It could be in the jungle. It could be anything. Well, we're talking about vampires. There's the first Studios vampire on that side. And then we go into, I would say, the more Bela Lugosi-inspired CMF. Then we have the Scooby Doo. And this was also around the time where they started in the Build-A-Fig at the Lego store. They started recoloring or making exclusive prints.
Yeah.
So this is this one's not a minifig. This is a reprint of the Monster Fighter in purple with purple accents. Is that the beginning of that? Was that around that time where they first started doing that?
My guess is it is. It's always a mystery sometimes. I mean, we're always trying to identify Lego minifigure parts. Somebody came to me one time and they're like, yeah, this is a BAM. This is BAM, whoever that minifigure is.
Build-A-Fig.
And I'm like, BAM?
Yeah. Oh.
What? Who are you talking about? There's no minifigure named BAM that I'm aware of. I don't think they made a Bam Margera figure.
Bam Bam from
Bam Bam, maybe, yeah. And then I looked it up, and it was Build-A-Minifigure. There's a lot of those now, and it's usually a CMF part changed up.
Yeah. Here's another one, the Spider Woman from Monster Fighters. They recolored her red accents into like magenta. This is my Spider Person collection.
It gets very Elvira vibes. I used to watch that.
Yeah, to me, she's a vampire that just has like spiders.
Now, where is this from?
That is from Monkey Kid.
Oh, wow.
I got this.
That is cool.
Yes! This is a rare instance where they let you order every single part to her.
Okay.
Even the cake was available at, now I paid out through the nose for it. Probably would have been cheaper to wait for one here, but I got it from Lego Bricks and Pieces. And she is awesome. Kid also has the Bone Queen, which is really, really cool. She has a glow-in-the-dark bone in her hair and that really cool exclusive headpiece with
and that's Monkey
spine.
Kid too?
That's Monkey Kid as well.
I've got a new respect for Monkey Kid.
Yeah. Based on Chinese mythology, I believe these are characters that the Monkey King in the Wukong story actually
her hair is amazing on that
one.
I mean, the back of it
it's got
is
spines.
So cool. Yeah. Up the back of her hair, holding the bone.
It's really, and her minions that came in that set have glow-in-the-dark arms and glow-in-the-dark skull head. It's really cool. Speaking of BAM figures, here's some Halloween exclusives they had last year.
Yeah.
I ate these up.
I love it.
So these were not recolors. These were all new, brand new prints. Yeah. They did have a recolor of the hair, of Harley Quinn's hair and the cat ear hair. But the pants, I believe there was a shirt too, a different shirt. You can't get more Halloween than these guys.
Yeah.
The two trick-or-treaters. I wish they would keep doing that.
Yeah.
These classic kids in costumes with the different jack-o'-lanterns. Ninjago has always used, actually a lot of themes have used horror elements in it. Ninjago has used skeletons and ghosts. Mm-hmm. And we haven't talked about Hidden Side yet. What was your opinion of Hidden Side?
I don't like the app-based sets. Mm-hmm. They never seem to stick. They never stick around at all. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like the Lego Dimensions video game. That was awesome, and it was exciting, and then they just stopped. They stopped supporting it, making it a thing, and I don't like it when they just stop things, you know? I like it when they continue to make it and support it. Anytime an app-based set comes out, I just kind of ignore it because I know it's going to be gone in a year or two.
It did give us some cool sets. You have the little graveyard. If you want to do a Halloween scene, we have a couple of these. We have some of them without the figures. Ooh. This is an easy, I would say, graveyard starter kit. Mm-hmm. You got this tree that moves his eyebrows and his arms, but it's a great graveyard starter if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. You know what else I like about Hidden Side is the school bus. That's really the only time they've put out a school bus in a set.
Yes.
And although it's got a missile launcher and everything on it, you can make it a regular school bus pretty easy.
It'd be very easy to modify it, yeah.
As far as value goes, I think there's a lot of upside to Hidden Side sets.
Yes. That's what we should start calling it.
My family just didn't really get into them. I'm not really sure if there's I have a specific reason why, other than they just lean more towards the classic Lego sets when they find them in store or shopping here. I just don't think it had enough like interest in it because they haven't seen it that much or haven't been involved with it. So it just didn't get that interest with them.
It had the transforming features to a lot of the sets. Like they had the school that transformed into a big monster. Everything transformed. That was what was neat about that, is that everything had a hidden side to it. And the idea through the story was that you went into the ghost world and you saw how things were haunted. And it was a cool idea, but to me the sets didn't look that great. The school was probably the best one in my opinion, but I almost would rather have another graveyard or a derelict house or something rather than some like a normal house that turned into something. And that's why I didn't get too into it, even though it's right up my alley. I did end up buying the more spooky oriented ones like the graveyard. There was one set they came out with at the end, which was a haunted train station, and it was in the ghost world. So everything was black and twisted and weird and had eyeballs and stuff. So it didn't turn into anything. It just was it. And thanks to Atlanta Brick Co., I finally got my hands on the big hidden side castle. We got one in.
Those were so rare. What is the story with those? You know that.
What I heard is that the line was not doing well. They already had this in production. They probably cut the line as soon as they could when they heard the numbers weren't great, but they just went ahead and got rid of what they had. The thing was a store exclusive, which I didn't know. If I would have known at the time, I would have gotten it. We're talking about the large hidden side castle, the main thing, the bad guy leader ghosts, this guy, his home, shop at home, Lego exclusive or in-store exclusive. The manager of the nearest one to us, he comes into our store a lot, and he said they got maybe 10 or 12 the entire time.
And that was something they discontinued before it even hit the shelves.
Yes!
That's just so weird.
One of the sets they built for display. So they really only had 9 or 11 to sell, and that was it. That was all they got the entire run. It was released when the line was already dead. And you got a lot of cool looking ghosts, this yellow guy, this red lumberjack. Lego has made a lot of ghosts, actually.
Ghostbusters Firehouse had ghosts.
Yes, Harry Potter has the Dementors, which are ghost-like. The DC Gentleman Ghost. Was that Lego Batman movie?
Yeah.
The video had this banshee, this singing banshee ghost. Classic Slimer. And we talked about this. Ninjago had ghosts and zombies. There's an ice zombie.
Yeah. Oh, there's zombies in Chima, too.
Chima, that's right. We didn't bring any of those down. The ice zombies, the White Walkers from Chima.
Now, you've mentioned Scooby Doo before. This is the Headless Horseman. This is really super classic Halloween. This is a minifigure I'm sure will just keep going up in value unless they make another one. But what I really liked about all the Scooby Doo bad guys is you can tell them apart because a lot of them are the same. You got a ghost, you got a mummy,
vampire.
But what's really cool is that you just turn the head around and it's a guy in a mask.
Yes.
So it's easy to tell. Oh, is this the Scooby Doo one? Oh yeah, it is.
Those are all based on season 1, 1970 or 1969, whatever, season 1.
Casey Kasem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are all based on actual episodes. So, for instance, the Headless Horseman one came with the biplane. Now, in the actual episode, the biplane wasn't Mystery Machine colors, but there was a biplane that was involved in that episode. The vampire, the classic Scooby-Doo vampire, had to do with a haunted house. So they were actually based on the episodes. And even the revealed faces of who they turned out to be look like the characters in that episode.
That's cool.
So it's not just random designs. They're all based on the actual season 1 episodes.
That's so neat.
We need a Vincent Price in there somewhere.
Yes.
That would be great.
Yes, if they made a Vincent Price minifigure, that would be amazing. Got the Mystery Machine.
And that Mystery Machine, that's a perfect model to me. That was so great. It's
good.
Like when you hold the Speed Champions cars, they're really good quality models. It's just a really good build. That's the same way.
Yeah.
Whereas you hold some other sets and it's like,
Yeah. It's the perfect size. It's not too big. It's not too small. And it looks exactly like what it's supposed to look like.
We skipped right over Fright Knights.
Oh, yeah, Fright Knights.
That was, Knights mixed with Halloween a little bit. You had the main bad guy or good guy. I don't know if they're bad guys or good guys. I'm sure they're bad guys.
Yeah.
was Basil the Bat Lord. And this set here, this is an oddball set. It's a Fright Knights set, and it's got the Shell logo on it. I think Shell was giving these away at Shell stations or something.
Oh, does
Or
that make that
selling
worth
them.
more?
No, not really.
Really? Okay.
No, maybe in the future, but there's not people out there that collect Shell and collect Lego.
Oh, okay.
You know, so you might collect Shell oil products, but you could care less about that.
Okay.
You know, whereas
So that wasn't harder to get then, or nothing in there is super exclusive.
I see a lot of these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see the most exclusive thing here is probably the Shell logo on the box, and you had the witch.
Willa the Witch.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
right.
She was in there too.
From what I read, the Fright Knights were the first real, unarguable bad guy in Castle. You had the Black Falcons, you had the Wolf Knights, and, they were, rapscallions, but the first unadulterated bad guys were the Fright Knights. They had evil powers. Everything was bat logoed. They were kind of ruled by a witch and the Bat Lord.
The Wolf Pack was bad. I would say the Wolf Pack did predate those, wouldn't you?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely bad guys. He's got an eye patch.
You know he's bad.
That's how you know.
Speaking of Willa the Witch, we do have one in the case, I think. I didn't bring her down, but we've gotten lots of witches from Lego as well. There's the Lego Batman movie, a classic Wizard of Oz witch.
Lego Dimensions pack.
This is the classic CMF witch, along with the CMF, the second Halloween Series 14 witch, and the recolor, another Lego BAM
Yeah.
figure recolor.
Do you have her black cat with her?
I didn't bring it.
That black cat is worth more than a minifigure now.
Why is that?
I guess it's the only black cat you can
Like
get.
all black with a pink nose or something?
Yeah, well, they have the squatting cat that's the little tiny cat, and then they have the newer style cats. That's the only black newer style cat.
Oh, wow.
It's worth a lot.
Okay.
I think it's $15 maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
It's worth more than the figure?
Yeah, it's worth more than the figure.
Wow. We talked about Chima.
Yeah.
And spider people.
That is super creepy. So that's a really
That is
good
hilarious.
example. Yeah.
And they have the moon rock as the whatever proboscis or
the
thorax.
old style moon rock.
Yes.
That's what's so neat about that.
In dark brown. So you played Dungeons & Dragons. Do you remember what this creature was called in Dungeons & Dragons?
My brothers played Dungeons & Dragons. I watched. I was too young. They wouldn't let me play.
Oh, those jerks.
Yeah. No, I can't think of it.
Drider.
That's right. A
Drider.
Yeah, that was the race was called a Drider, right?
Yes. Yeah, so it's the spider centaur are called Driders.
My daughter's not a fan of spiders, but we like to prank in our house. This could be fun.
The new spider is so scary.
Yes.
If you're scared of spiders, which I am. I've got arachnophobia, but it always looks like a real spider in your collection. And I found real spiders in my Lego before. So it's not out of the question for a real spider to be in your Lego.
That new tarantula spider.
Yeah.
But they have them in glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Which I love. In fact, anytime we get them in the store, I buy most of them.
Speaking of glow in the dark, show off your 3D printed skeleton.
If you saw our video on Brick Fair, Virginia, I bought this from a gentleman who made this himself. His 3D printing machine. I did not know you could 3D print in glow in the dark, but this thing glows up. Check that video out.
I love that glow section of that video.
Oh, yes.
You bought that at Brick Fair, Virginia. It was like a pretty good souvenir to bring home.
Oh, yeah. And it's the floppy arm.
Floppy
It's
arm.
the original floppy arm.
That's pretty good functionality there.
Yeah. Yep. I don't think the legs move. I think the legs are made to look like they move, but they're fused. So he's classic skeleton. Did we talk about Wolfman?
Oh, did we bring the classic wolf head down?
We did not.
It was from, Studios
And then they used it in Harry Potter.
and Harry Potter.
Right?
Yeah.
CMF original Lon Chaney version of Wolfman. The video Wolfman, the drummer.
Yeah.
This is the, again, glow in the
Monster
dark claws,
Fighters, yeah.
Monster Fighters. There's the CMF, Series 14, and there's the grandma from the Lego Ideas storybook. People joke online that it looks less like the wolf put grandma's clothes on and more like she turned into a wolf. She's a werewolf. She's got the printed glasses and the lipstick.
The lipstick is
I
great.
love this figure. The bat creature, going back to vampires. So this is the original CMF, the Monster Fighter, and then the white Man-Bat, the 3 different colors.
Yeah.
And they've done Man-Bat a few different prints in brown. Rounding out the classic monsters,
Yes.
we have the creature from the Black Lagoon. First appearance was Monster Fighters, right? He
Yes.
was not in studios, right?
Correct.
They did not do.
Correct.
Then we have the
Lego movie.
Lego movie version of him. And this is the Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
The reason I don't have his legs, because in my scene, I had him coming out of the
Coming
water.
out of the water. Gotcha.
And I put his legs somewhere and can't find them.
Now, you've got 2 young boys and a young girl. Are they allowed to play with these?
They are, but through lots of slow practice, like being used to a wild animal.
Uh-huh.
My Lego was the wild animal, and I had them very carefully. It's like, okay, that's enough time. All right, come closer. All right, that's enough time. So they've learned what they can touch and what they can't touch. Because I do have some of these figures out, like this, whatever, $60, $80 figure. I have those
wow.
out.
Yeah.
My little girl can't reach it, and she's got her own Duplo area on the other side. She does not come in without me. But the boys, I can, through slowly exposing them and slapping their hands, spraying them in the face with water, they've gotten accustomed to what they can touch and what they can't touch, and they've got their own area as well.
So you're at that point where you're president business.
Yes.
You're Will Ferrell. And you get that movie 100%.
Well, that's exactly right, because
Yeah.
I only got it 50%. I saw it more through the eyes of the child when I first saw it, and then when my kids got old enough, I saw it more through Will Ferrell's eyes.
I had already gone through that
Yeah.
because my kids are teenagers now. And when that movie came out, my kids were looking at me in the theater. And I was
100%,
crying.
Yeah.
I was like, "This is me. I've done
Yes,
this."
yes.
I think every father has really.
Yes.
It's tough. I mean, you got an $80 minifigure there.
Yeah.
They can't play with it.
Yes.
And they don't understand that. They don't. It's like,
They don't.
this is worth a lot of money. Like $5? No.
It is a good way to teach kids how to value things and take care of them and
Yeah.
appreciate them, though.
My oldest always asks why, so I have to explain the complex stuff like, well, it's based on market value and how much people want it. Is it rare? That has to do with it, but not always. Sometimes it has to do with how much people want it and how popular the item is.
Sometimes it just has to do with how much an adult is willing to pay for it.
Yes.
When you're into Lego and your kids are into Lego, you want them to be in the Lego
Yeah.
at least. It's just it's a very delicate life lesson to teach them that you're allowed to build this, but you can't play with it.
Yeah.
But it's a toy.
Yeah.
It's not a toy.
Yeah.
That's so what the Lego movie was about, but it's also about the balance and the father realizing that,
Yes.
hey, this is a good way for us to bond and play together with these things. But kids need to be taught to take care of their possessions.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, we had the Star Wars figures and the original Millennium Falcon. And it ended up out in our sandbox, and we shot at it with BB guns. And I took all my original Thundercats action figures and threw darts at them. And just got into the phase of playing with them. I always took it to the next level. I burned them. I shot them. It didn't dawn on me it would ever be worth anything. Whereas the same thing with baseball cards and Pokemon cards. So it's I think there could be a book written on how to teach your kids to appreciate
Yes.
There's a good coffee table book.
their toys
to be
and
written.
play with them at the same time. And it would be a good coffee table book
Right?
because you got all these pictures of these really cool toys.
Yes.
I couldn't write it though. I don't. I still don't know how to tell them. This is a construction zone, not a deconstruction.
Yes.
zone. That's what I would tell all my kids, and my kids knew better. Their friends didn't. They would come over, and that's where you started to have problems.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Because they're just starting to get to the age where they're asking about going to friends' houses and friends coming over. It's like, Lego room's off limits.
Yeah.
No one is allowed to go in there. It's if your friends are over, that door's locked. Yeah, I don't know how to handle that.
I've heard it hundreds of times at the Lego store. People come in, and then we sell all the individual minifigures, and they're like, hey, my son's friend was over, and we think he took his expensive Captain Rex minifigure, which is now over $200. He's like $250, and and he only came out like 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I need to buy him a new one because he's got to have him, and I'm like, you realize this is $200. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to buy it for $200. And,
I would knock down that friend's door.
That's an extreme example, but
it's
$20, $30,
happens,
$40 minifigures, just like Samakai. What's he up to now?
He was
NINJAGO.
like 65.
He's up to 65,
something like that.
In good condition. You know? So I mean, it's tough.
Well, that's
and kids bring them to school and they get stolen. all the time.
And I'm trying to put that in their brains about the worth and stuff. And hearing me, they watch some of our videos, and so hearing us talk about how expensive things are and the price and the value, they're already getting inundated with this is more of a collectible and less of a toy. Although they have their toys too, but my oldest especially always talks about, like, this is really rare. Like, sure it is. Right now they're in the phase where they want the animals because they just came out with the new elephant and the new monkey and stuff. And it's like, you bought that set, but we can't play with the elephant. And it's like, that's right. Why can't we have the elephant? Because it'll get lost if you haven't. You can play with it in here.
Oh yeah, at our house we had my husband build very high shelves, and so we put rare ones up there so you could admire them and look at them from afar. And if certain kids came over, or friends, sometimes some more sets had to go up there, and in all of our kids' rooms they started asking for high shelves for when friends came over. They would ask sometimes to have some stuff up so they wouldn't have to worry about getting broken. Not that they would do it on purpose, but just so they didn't worry about it. So all of our kids have shelves up above their windows, and when my older one's not so much, but even my younger one now, he's like, can we put those up? And I'm like, sure, and we'll put stuff up. And then it kind of becomes not an issue because it's up there, and kids tend to not ask for things up on top shelves, or they can't reach them or have access to them, so they play down low as to what's accessible.
That is a great solution to that.
Yes, his friends come over,
We've even had cases where somebody was selling their house, and the realtor came in to show the house, and the people looking at the house stole their Lego minifigures, the expensive ones. They knew what they were looking at, and they took the expensive figures right off the shelf. An adult did that.
Oh.
I was paranoid about that when we were selling our last house because we had a basement house and stuff. I packed everything up. Before the first person came in, everything was packed up. I wanted to ask about displaying mocks at conventions. I was told that very rarely happens, but if you bring a mock with like 300 figures, how would you know if someone grabbed one of the $20 ones? Does that happen? Have you heard of stuff like that?
It happens, and sets get stolen, and it's just not common, but it does happen. Things always do get stolen at conventions, and you just got to do your best to keep an eye on it and cover it up at night. And you've got your stanchions that keep people from getting too close to it. It is something that you always have to be concerned about.
I want to bring a mock one year, but I could not bring myself to put anything of value on that table.
Honestly, I wouldn't let it stop you from bringing a mock and putting things of value on it, because it is very rare.
Okay.
John Snyder had brought his Crate Dragon mock from The Mandalorian. It was mostly a brick-built mock, but then he had the Mandalorian figure, and I think Grogu was on there too. And every night when he went home, he just grabbed those two figures, and because he was right by the door, a high traffic area, and it was just easy for him to just grab those figures and go. A lot of times people will bring bed sheets, and throw them over their mocks.
Just to deter people. Okay.
It's rare enough that you shouldn't let it stop you from bringing the zombie bride and putting her in your haunted house.
Okay. All right. Maybe one day.
You can do it. We'll stand guard.
Yeah. We were talking about skeletons. Let's finish out skeletons. Talk about Samokai. Ninjago also gave us this cool black skeleton, and they've redone these skeleton heads a couple of times to give Ninjago its own look and feel. They had the giant oversized skeletons. They put a lot of cool prints and new legs on the classic skeleton. And they came out with that more spiny body for the Ninjago skeletons. And now the newest one.
Black heads are amazing.
And you've made earrings with those. And
Oh, you're wearing them right now.
they are
That's all I had
available
to say.
On our
Available
website.
on the website. I'm all, yes.
with the spring green accent, yellowish
It
green.
looks like it should go in the dark, but it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. Do you like the big head skeletons, or they're weird? They're too
Oh
weird.
yeah, no.
I think they're very cool.
Samakai has always, since he came out, always been one of my favorite minifigures.
That was another thank you, Atlanta Brick Co. I got him here.
And speaking of the earrings and things that we're making ourselves, this fine gentleman, his name is Crankshaft, and he is the driver of the Toxic Titan that Mark and Steven made on Lego Masters. I think it was episode 5, the monster truck demolition derby.
Yeah, the demolition derby.
Demolition
Yeah.
derby.
That's why he's got the steering wheel
Yes.
and the wrench. In the episode, he didn't have any hair or a mohawk.
Yeah.
But now that he's famous, he's styling more.
That is awesome. A
is
cute little brick-built skeleton.
We're selling those building kits on our website. Just type in
He's amazing.
Crankshaft.
So much fun to build.
What's interesting about a set like this is it was designed by Mark and Steven Erickson, and they originally built it, and you're using building techniques that are that you never would have thought of yourself because they are master builders.
Right.
Yeah.
And by following the instructions and building him, you're learning how to
Yep.
build
Yep.
like them. It's a snapshot into their mind.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, you've got sphere construction, which you did your YouTube video on, and I think one of your YouTube videos was on this type of sphere.
Yeah, the Lowell sphere. That's a half Lowell
Yeah.
with a different face on one side. Mark said that was even harder to build, to figure out.
Oh, really?
Because the
Yeah.
Lowell sphere requires all sides to function. And so since this doesn't have the bottom, it's actually more complex to get it to work.
Yeah, I did our Pokeball
That's right, yeah.
about 6 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago, and it's 2 half Lowell spears because it opens and shuts, and then it's got to be hollow inside.
Yes.
So that was hard.
That
and
was
other
complex.
people had them out at the time, but they didn't open and shut. They
Yeah.
were just full Pokeballs, and I was like, okay, if it's a Pokeball, it's got to open.
It's got to open. How do you
Yeah.
catch them?
Yeah.
How do you catch them?
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about the skeleton horses.
Yeah, these are
Yes.
some of my favorite animals. You've got your glow-in-the-dark horse, which I think came with the Monster Fighter sets, and then the classic white one and black one.
Which came out originally with Fantasy Castle,
Fantasy
right?
era.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll end it with these very specific Halloween things that are not themed sets or go in a specific line. They're basically just holiday sets. They change it every year. Sometimes they're little scenes. So I love this one. This one I believe was from last year. And how can you get more Halloween than this?
Oh,
It's a little hayride. I love how even this small little set still came with 2 exclusive prints. You got the dad in the mummy print, both front and back, and the daughter in the hoodie skeleton.
These are stickers here that are pretty
Yes.
exclusive.
Typically, you get stuff like this, which doesn't have any exclusive anything in it. But I did like this. This one was cool. And it has the moon
That
behind,
is
in
neat.
front of the
Yes.
haunted house in the front. And it was another cheap way to get that new pumpkin, new at the time. The figure it came with was pretty common, I believe. The buildable Dracula, or vampire with the bat. They've got the little, I guess you would give it as a gift. So it's 2 from. With these, every year it seems like all the holiday sets go through a theme themselves, because one year it'll be buildable people. One year it'll be vignettes. One year it'll be little scenes with minifigures. This year is all small buildable animals. So the spring was the bunny. The Halloween one is the owl, which we don't have any of those in the store right now, right? We'll get them eventually.
That's super cool.
Yes.
That's not... they have a jack-o'-lantern out right now.
Yes, okay.
This is one of those things that I don't think Lego makes this. This might be one of those licensed products
Okay.
where an Iris might make it, the company that makes plastic containers. Yeah.
We
Copenhagen makes it.
Okay.
So usually they have a different shelf life than your typical Lego set.
Oh, yeah.
This is the
those.
perfect decoration.
Yes.
I mean, it really is awesome. We've got a couple of the yellow heads hanging from our front step.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those have handles, right?
Yeah,
different.
they're the
older
old
style.
sorting heads. and
Yes.
they were broken. That's why we put them up there.
Oh, okay. This is for Angie, because elves can do spooky too. This is Noctora's tower, and the bat wakes up.
Yes.
That is awesome.
The wings are great on these sets. The coloring's
That's
fun.
really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, look at that. My daughter has this. It's one of her favorites.
And lastly, we do make commission build name plates. So this is mine. When I first started working here, this was a fairly new thing, I think. She asked me, hey, can I do your name? What colors would you want? What minifigures do you want? I said, can you make it themed? What theme would you want? I was like, Monster Fighters. So I have my name in the Monster Fighters. She did an amazing job. She's done a Star Wars one. She's done princesses. We had a request for a Ninjago one for a kid's birthday party. So they're based on the price of the minifig and the name, the length of the name.
Yeah.
So,
And they're expensive because there's a lot of parts here.
Yeah.
And figures and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's a gift that is so unique.
yes,
that-
and personalized.
Yes.
Very personal. Everybody that's gotten them has loved them.
One more. The original Universal Studios. This is a licensed product, Brickhead Frankenstein, in black and white.
Oh.
I thought that was such a neat touch. I was hoping they do the Bela Lugosi vampire next, but they don't seem like they're going to do that. Maybe this one didn't sell
Oh,
well enough. But I love this thing,
I love that too.
the Frankenstein Brickhead.
So, being such a huge Halloween fan, I like Halloween, don't get me wrong. I dress up every year still. What would you like to see that they haven't done yet?
I would love to see them continue with Universal Studios and do the classic Brickheads. I would love if they brought it, even if they were small sets like this, but do scenes from original Bela Lugosi Frankenstein, Bela Lugosi Dracula. Maybe even, they probably wouldn't do Hammer films, but Hammer films were the more exploitative 70s resurgence of classic monsters. So that's Christopher Lee, Dracula. I would love to see just
You
little
mean
scenes.
Saruman?
Saruman.
Oh.
He is, if you didn't know that, I don't know if you knew that, but he is probably the second most famous Dracula ever after Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi, all the stereotypes of Dracula came from him. The widow's peak, the Hungarian accent, the opera collar, they call it, all that came from Bela Lugosi. Everything we think of as the cheesy Dracula is Bela Lugosi. And that was his real accent and everything. Yeah, that's what I would like to see. Hidden Side was cool. I think it had some problems that we discussed already. If they did a licensed Universal or redid Adventures and had some monsters in there, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
How about you? What would you want to see?
I would say, all just because I was talking with my girls about it, I would love to see Hocus Pocus. I think there are so many fun Hocus Pocus. You could do the Brickheads. You could make fun little sets. I feel like, and especially they're making the second one, they say. We'll see. But I think there's a lot of fun that like kids could enjoy, parents could enjoy together. I would love to see that.
You'd get some cool witches and some crazy
Right?
prints.
I know, right?
and
Yeah,
stuff.
Billy would be great
Yeah.
as a brickhead.
That was the zombie, right?
Yeah,
That, like,
her husband.
Yeah.
Yes, she cuts his mouth open. Yeah, I think there could be a lot of really fun ones.
How about you, sir? Is there one you'd want to see?
Just keep going with the classic ones, kind of like you had mentioned, but maybe make it a little more modern. And that, like, I was just thinking one thing that I like. Never considered this a Halloween show, but Penny Dreadful. I think it's on Netflix.
I watched that show.
It
Yeah.
is very good. First season, at least. I didn't get into the second season, but just introducing like Dorian Gray.
Yes.
All your classic monsters and scary people.
So if nothing else, then keep giving us the CMFs.
Yeah.
Give us maybe a Dorian Gray CMF with a
and
dual-sided
sets.
head.
They did come out with the Carnival Haunted House.
Yes.
That made a lot of people happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
More trick-or-treaters. Please,
Yes.
more in classic. I would love a kid ghost.
Yeah, a
If
kid
they
clown.
have short legs,
A
a
kid
kid
clown.
clown
Yeah.
with more designs on the pumpkin buckets. Give us.
Speaking of ghosts, Mark is designing t-shirts for us because we're getting a t-shirt printer that is going to be top of the line, best t-shirt printing you could possibly imagine, direct to garment, not the screen printed stuff.
Yes.
Full color, into the shirt. So Mark's coming up with these designs, and he just did one yesterday for you. Have you seen it?
It's so great.
Really,
it's so great.
It's awesome.
Very
So
cool.
great.
Yeah.
So-
they're going to be normal t-shirt prices,
Okay.
$20 to $30 depending on the quality of the shirt. Do you still dress up for Halloween?
I will go with my kids trick-or-treating, but sometimes it has to do with the convenience of it.
Uh-huh.
So our neighborhood now is so spread out that we take a golf cart from house to house. Otherwise, there's no way my 3-year-old is going to walk that distance. So we bought a used golf cart and fixed it up, and so we go from house to house. Sometimes what they want me to wear or what would go with the theme isn't feasible to jump in and out of a golf cart. So I don't always is the answer. I love dressing up. I mean, you've seen my videos. I love dressing up. What are you guys going to be for Halloween?
I'm going to be Winifred from Hocus Pocus. See, I got Hocus Pocus on the brain this
Nice!
week. Yes.
That's perfect.
Have you done that before?
I have done it before with some good friends. We were all three the witches, and then one of the husbands dressed up as the Peter Marshall character. It's a lot of fun. I'm trying to convince Angie to get in there because one of my friends is moving, and I think she has her costume. So Angie doesn't know this yet.
Quite often I'll be Darth Maul. I love being Darth Maul for Halloween. I have changed it up a little bit. You know that gladiator helmet that I had at our podcast about the night episode? I wore that and was Ares, the DC character, one time. Last 2 years I've had soccer games on Halloween night. And this year I have a soccer game on the 31st, which is a Sunday night, right at like 7:30.
That should be illegal.
Right?
It is. And,
Who makes a schedule?
And that's been like that like the last 3 years. It just happens to always be on Halloween night. I've been dressing up in my soccer uniform as my Halloween costume.
Yeah. Soccer,
And
Darth
it's
Maul.
just an easy way to get out of it. But I was Darth Maul with my soccer uniform, and I showed up at my game, and I just had like this. I had washed the black makeup off, but it didn't wash off all the way, and it just looked like creepy. No one touched me. They stayed away.
It's interesting to me. Halloween is an American holiday. It's based on European traditions, but it is as we think of it, it is American. I don't know if all Americans realize that, but it's become so popular in other countries now that everyone kind of celebrates it in their own way, but the trick-or-treating, at least the costumes and the decorations, are now known worldwide because it's fun. It's fun to dress up. It's fun to be silly, to be kind of weird and spooky for one night. Just let it all hang out and get some candy.
Yeah. And I don't care how old you are. If you come to my house dressed up, I'm giving you candy. I don't care.
That's awesome.
And to verify some things, if people are confused by Justin saying that they ride around in a golf cart for Halloween, other parts of the country don't do this. Everyone down here has a golf cart. Like we're next to Peachtree City, which is like all connected by golf cart. Walmart has golf cart parking in front of it.
Yeah.
The schools do.
The schools do. It's just the culture down here. So for those of us that live outside of Peachtree City, we get all their hand-me-down golf carts.
Yeah.
And golf carts are everywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, Yamaha is one of the biggest golf cart manufacturers, and they're right down the street from us. So not only are they making brand new golf carts here, but all these used golf carts are just everywhere. If you look at Facebook Marketplace, everybo's got golf carts for sale. So for people who might have down.
Yeah, like
Riding
stop.
a
Wait,
golf
let
cart?
me rewind the video. What did you say?
He rides around in a golf cart. Yeah.
When I went to college, I remember people would ask where I'm from. I said, "Oh, Fayette County." And it's like, what is that? I don't know that. It's next to Peachtree City. Peachtree City is in Fayette County. It's like, is that golf cart place? They knew about it. I didn't know it was that famous. Everyone knew. It's like, oh, that weird golf cart place. So even in Georgia, it's considered weird a little bit. But yeah, in this area. So do you not ride around in a golf cart wherever you go?
We do, but we don't have a golf cart.
Okay.
So we always go to somebody's house,
Yes.
a friend's house that does have a golf cart. And sometimes we'll just have a caravan of golf carts that'll
Yes.
go around. So
Yeah. Halloween, of course, last year, due to COVID, very few people, I mean, already in the South, not many people do it, but it was even less last year. But there were a few people out, and, people were having a good time on a golf cart, going from house to house. So we'll probably do that again this year. When my kids get older, I'd love to take them to College Street one night.
I'm going to have to check
I
that
would
out.
do
I haven't
that.
been. So.
Yeah. It may not happen this year because
I'll
of
have to look.
restrictions and whatnot.
one of those big houses got really torn up in the
That's
tornado.
true, yeah.
But they might use it because they've got it like a tarp covering half the house right now. They might use that.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know.
I don't know. Check it out.
Yeah.
At least drive down College Street. It's beautiful. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. We're hoping to get more Halloween stuff. We didn't mention it, but it's right behind me. Can you see it? The Scooby Doo haunted house. We've got one of those. That's my personal one, but we've got one for disassembly. Maybe we'll do a review. Zoinks! Are you a Fred or are you a Shaggy?
I think I'm a cross between the two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
maybe,
answer.
maybe I'm a Scooby.
Yeah. Just eating those snacks. We'll look for more Halloween spookiness later. Don't forget to subscribe and
Oh yeah.
yeah. Listen to us on our podcast if you'd like to just hear us speak and not watch all this cool stuff. We are available as an audio podcast. Subscribe to a channel if you're not subscribed already. For those of you who are subscribed, thank you so much. And we will see you very soon.
Giddy up, little pony.